What's going on, everyone? Yes, today is another toy review, as usual, and today I'll be reviewing Light Black Keni Ono. Now, this figure here is actually from a manga. Now, the origin of the manga, that I do not know. I actually pulled up a few images from it. The artwork was pretty okay, nothing too extravagant. Kind of like a, it's kind of like a splash page style art. And it feels like that whole brushstroke, like it's kind of wild. The drawings are really elongated limbs at some points. Sometimes it's anatomically correct. It's just mismatch. So if you want to go look for the book, be my guest. But yeah, just Google it, and you can pretty much find some stuff on it. But beyond all that, I'm going to go ahead and give you the pros and the cons to this figure. And first and foremost, as always, let's go ahead and get into height comparison. Now, Keni Ono here is a 1/6 scale figure, so he's 12 inches. And he's the exact same size as good old Snake. Now, only reason why he looks taller is because I actually have him on the stand, of course. And that is the only reason. But other than that, they're the exact same size. Now, what is different about both of them, though, or Keni out of the standard 1/6 scale figure, Keni is extremely heavier than normal when you pick him up. It's kind of one of them feelings. What's the best way to put it? Like you're picking up a statue. That's exactly how it feels picking him up. He's definitely a lot more heavier than the standard 1/6 scale I've ever picked up. So it's kind of one of the things you just got to have one to actually get where I'm coming from. Next up, though, let's go ahead and jump into detail. See how everything looked up close for you. And I will say, when I first got the figure, I wasn't too happy at first. I kind of felt like, it should be more. And when I got to messing around with him for about 30 minutes in, he kind of grew on me. I went from not liking him as much as liking him a whole lot more. So it's one of them figures where it's definitely going to be a love or hate it feel. Now, this right here is very odd that they made his body a grayish tint and then made his feet flesh. I'm gonna be honest with you, it don't personally bother me. I know it may bother other collectors, which is totally understandable because it doesn't make any sense why that looked the way it looked. But that is definitely an odd little mix they put up there. But yep, so that's that. And if you notice, he's really, really basic. He's just red and black mainly that you're dealing with. He has like the little silver rings on his suit, which is kind of like a nice little contrast, and that little weird button there. It actually kind of reminds me of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but kind of the weird buttons they have on there, it looks identical to it actually, like the little weird ladybug. But that is a full 360 of good old Ono. Alright. Now, before I get into articulation, I'm going to go ahead and jump into accessories. Now, as for accessories rather, he don't come with a lot. He's pretty bare. His scarf is one of the accessories itself. Alright, and this is fully posable, so you can pose that the way you want. I actually took his head off and made the scarf exactly how I wanted it, so that way if I want it covering his face, I can do that. But that's an accessory. Now, attached to this little ladybug button there is a metal chain that's attached to a leather strap, which is also attached to a little knife. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up close so y'all can see it. Give it a second to adjust. There we go. and it's pretty cool. It's nothing extravagant, but it's nice looking. So you get that. Now what's nice is that I don't just have this tucked in his shirt. It's actually an inside pocket in his shirt. So it's really meant to hold his dagger, or his little hidden blade rather. So that is meant to be there. Next accessory that you would get a sliced off finger, which is his finger. Now the pool of blood touch, I'm not gonna lie, it looked like shit. It's pretty cheesy. So I don't really care for this, but whatever. The reason why he has a cut off finger, let me go ahead and bring that up close so y'all can actually see it. Give me 1 second. There you go. He's missing his pinky. So he could either A, be in a Yakuza, be a triad, or possibly neither one, and just be in in some type of gang that kind of runs with the same rituals. So that's why you get the whole cut off finger. But you get that. And you also get a ginormous sword. Let me go ahead and bring him back, and I'm going to show you how big this sword is to him. So, let me zoom out 1 second. The sword sits that tall. Now, as for details on the sword, I'm actually surprised. Like, heavy as the figure is, I thought this blade was going to be kind of heavy, and it's actually good that it's not, because that way it just won't be flopping around in his hand. There we go. But it has a very nice, like, rust style brush to it. It looks really good. Got a little bit of dents here and there. Let's see if I can get up close so y'all can see. Yep, so it looks worn. It definitely did an amazing job on that. Like, this looks good. But you get that as well. And there's one more accessory. Give me 1 second. You get a clear mask that he comes with. Now, putting this mask on is extremely easy, actually. All you're going to do is you can rock it several ways. Let me go ahead and zoom it up. You can either A, hang the mask on the side of his head, like that, and he can just be wearing this mask on the side, or the normal way, which is just put it on his face. And that goes on the first peg of his ponytail. And just push it on, and it stays on good, so you don't got to worry about it falling off or anything out of ordinary. It actually works really, really well. As for him standing up on his own, I do have him on a stand right now. Would I trust him stand up on his own? Absolutely not. His legs can't handle it because the body is so heavy up top. You pretty much stick him on the table trying to stand on his own, he's probably going to go crashing down. So I wouldn't suggest it. But just in case if you was wondering why he's even on the stand, because normally I don't put my toys on the stand when I'm doing reviews because it kind of hinders me moving around. But that's why he's on there. But this is accessories. Now, last part, which is the most important part in my opinion, is the articulation of this figure. Now, the weird part about this figure, I actually took his clothes completely off to actually see how he was built, just to see if something was to go wrong with this figure, could I repair it? You technically would just have to make a custom figure if this figure ever break on you, which you don't want him to break, because what I didn't say about this figure is actually limited to 300 worldwide. So he's not something that you can easily get your hands on. You pretty much, once you got him, you got him. If you don't, you pretty much either may pay a hefty cost for him. My personal opinion, would I probably pay a hefty cost? No. He's not worth the ticket, in my opinion. That's just me. He looks very nice, but for how much they charge, figures nowadays charge way less with way more. And you're probably saying, well, he's limited. That's why you're paying more. Yeah, that's true. But even if you pay a ridiculous amount, if the figure ain't going to be worth nothing at all, and you're just buying it for the limited reasons, then it's pointless. Because I clearly didn't pay for him because I wanted a limited figure for money purposes, because no one even knows who the hell this figure is, except for like a handful of people. And that definitely is not going to boost up the cost of this figure. So if you buy them because you actually want them, not because you're trying to make a profit, because you probably won't make a profit. You'll probably get exactly what you paid for them back on the aftermarket. So, whatever. But thing is, this figure has a custom body where if you tear this figure up, you're not going to fix it. You're going to have to do some type of alternating situation. You're going to have to change the body. Like, you're going to have to drill something or whatever, because, believe it or not, let me go ahead and show you something real fast. So this is a 3A figure. If you notice, it has little holes in the limbs. Alright? Now, even on the Metacom figures, they have holes in their limbs where you can actually fix the problem. He does not. The only screws I found on this figure was actually in the thighs. And that was even hard to get to if you want to get to it. So technically, if this figure break, you're fucked. So you don't want to break your figure. But let me go ahead and jump into what you can actually pose, or the movement rather, or the posability rather. He is on an older style body, which I think is really, really weird for him to be a newer figure. His head actually sits on a peg. I'm going to zoom up a bit for you. His head sits on a peg. It can actually just go back and forth, and that's in the neck part of the actual head. The neck doesn't move, but the peg travels from inside the head to the neck. So it can only do this. It can tilt a tad bit, not by much though. And looking up, he can't really look up. He just technically just tilt his head up more so than anything, or just happen to look straight forward. But his head can come off pretty easy. You don't got to worry about breaking it, because the way it's designed is actually designed pretty smart. So that part you don't got to worry about. When I say it's just a standard peg, it's literally just a peg that has like a notch on it that prevents you from putting it on the wrong way if you try to take the head off and you try to put it back on. So that's that. In his actual shoulders, let me move down a bit for y'all. In his shoulders, they're on single joints and not ball joints. So it's actually just on a hinge completely. You either do a full 360 going this way, and you can bring the arm out. So that's how far his arm go, right here. And it's hard to do the full 360 because his jacket or his outfit is actually like kind of skin tight. So you really can't do the whole lift the arm over the head. If you do, you're going to have to maneuver the jacket around while moving the joints, which can be a pain in the ass, but that's what you'll have to do if that's what you want out of the figure. He has single joint elbows. Move down a bit so y'all can see. Single joint elbows. It goes about that high up. And he has the standard pegs that Hot Toys and 3A figures have on their hands. So we do have that going on, so you can actually pivot the wrist. And the wrist can do a full 360 if you like. And it's pegged in just like your standard Hot Toys or 3A figure. I will say it's easier to pull off the hands, which is not a bad thing. Not meaning like the hands fall off, but more so just the removal. The removal of the hands are actually easier to get off. So that part is nice. Now, as for coming down to his chest, his chest can only swivel, which personally I think is kind of ridiculous, and that's what I mean by the figure, in my opinion, is not worth the ridiculous ticket that they have on it. I actually got them for pretty low off of eBay. But that's about it. Like, he can only do this much, and it's designed where he should be able to lean forward, but he can't. Like, he can lean a little bit at the waist. Let me show you what I'm talking about. He pivots that much forward at the waist. You go about that much back on the waist. So he can practically really can't move at all. He can probably go further. I don't know if the material of the figure is preventing me from moving it easy. I wasn't going to take any chances just because I didn't want to break him. Because I took enough chances just actually trying to see how he worked. That was enough for me to say, you know what, I'm good. So, yeah. So that's how much he can actually move on that. Yeah, and I do have him off the base right now. So like I said, he can stand. I just wouldn't suggest it. Getting down to his thighs. Now, he's built the same way as one of the 3A figures. The difference with him, on his thigh joint, he has a piece of plastic that rises damn near to the actual pelvis, which prevents his leg from going like really, really far out. It can go out, but that plastic normally bumps into that. So like, for example, if I take the leg, and if I get one thing about this, make sure you be careful moving legs or limbs. Now, what's nice about this figure, they put him on ratchet joints, and the understanding of them doing that, which makes total sense. Like I said, this figure is not a light figure. They more than likely did that to keep him from tipping over or losing a pose. So that's as high as I take his leg. I could probably take it higher, but like I said, I'm not going to really attempt it just because. And it's scary moving joints, I promise you. Like, I really feel like a little bitch moving this stuff. I'm like, oh my God, please, please, please don't break on me. So like, yeah, so that's something you want to be careful with. Now, dealing with the base of the pelvis, he can also swivel like this one. Now, it is extremely tough to swivel. I think that's also on a ratchet joint. I don't know, because I tried to move it a bit and it felt like it has a clicky on it. But once again, didn't want to force it, didn't want to put no strain on it, so I wouldn't suggest you do the same. Now, coming to his knees are on double hinges. All right, so he gets full bend. Sorry about that if it's actually out of focus. Give me a second. I'll get it in focus for y'all. There we go. So his knees do a full bend. All right, and if you look at the back, that's like full plastic. What I noticed about him over the other toys, and I think that's the reason why he's so heavy, he's actually like solid plastic. Like, if you think about all the other figures that we have or own, that's 1/6 scale figures, the bodies are actually like hollowed out. So they're like, that's why you got to screws them in the first place. Like, you can easily unscrew them, take the body and pull it apart, and then fix whatever issue that you may possibly have in your other figures if you ever had an issue with a 1/6 scale figure, such as myself. So you can pull them apart and mess around with it. But by his body being a solid mass, like, that's the reason why he's so heavy. Everything about him from the top to the bottom, he's just straight solid plastic. Like, he's not hollow at all. Like, even, like, you can kind of hear an echo thumping on that, where with him, it's no echo at all. Like, it's just solid. But going down to his feet is actually on ratchets as well. Give me 1 second for it to focus. This camera be so ridiculous at times. There we go. That his feet, you can kind of see it clicking. So that's on that. And I think that's what kind of holds him up without me having that stand for that moment, is because of that reason alone. So that there is the full review of Keni Ono. Now, hopefully this review that I just gave you actually helps out if you was thinking about picking them up. Once again, like I said, if you decide to get them because you really want them. Don't get them thinking that you're going to turn profit just because you're probably going to be pissed if you attempt to do that. There's nothing wrong with buying stuff and trying to make money. Hey, all for people trying to get extra money, I totally understand. But coming from a person that sells stuff, I wouldn't suggest it because it's probably not going to be worth it, just to be real. But beyond all that, like I said, that is my review. Hope this knowledge helped out. And make sure, as always, pay attention to the end of the video. So always post up pictures for people to actually see different things. I did put them in a few poses, nothing major, just a few poses. And I also took pictures of when I removed the outfit off. So you can actually see exactly what I was talking about on the video. And by the way, I meant to say that. I know I probably almost forgot. If I didn't say it already, at the elbows where they bend at, they can swivel as well. So they're not designed like the double hinge elbows, like that. Because up here, they got their swivel up here. He has his swivel in this just because it's just on a single joint. So just in case if I didn't say that, wanted to let you know that part. But yep, that is it. And God damn it, y'all have a great one. Continue to collect. Take care.